Over the years, I've taken you to some truly beautiful gardens all around the world. And now another first-class garden, but this time it's right here in our very own backyard. Mayfield, Australia's largest privately owned garden. And for the very first time, we get exclusive access to the entire garden. Mayfield is located just outside the country town of Oberon in New South Wales, on the tablelands at the foot of the Blue Mountains. And whilst it's one of Australia's youngest gardens at 20 years, it's also one of its most breathtaking, created by the Hawkins family. It takes its inspiration from the greatest estate and country gardens of Europe. The youngest, yet the largest garden here at Mayfield is the Water Garden, created in 2005, 2.5 hectares of glorious water features, trees and colour. Now, it was way back in 2011 that I brought you here for the very first time and showed you this incredible garden. Look how much it's grown. Now, being a cold climate garden, in autumn all the leaf colour is absolutely incredible. The Japanese maples, the dogwoods, the birch, everything just looks stunning. The waterfalls are just the beginning. A glorious winding serpentine pathway leads to a stunning bridge made out of blue basalt and built by local tradesmen and craftsmen on staff. And for the very first time, I can introduce you to Garrick Hawkins. He's the man behind the passion and the dream that is Mayfield. Water garden, it's grown so much since I was here last.
Whether it's because of its sheltered environment, I'm not quite sure, but the growth here is just so prolific.
Isn't it incredible?
In every species.
Yeah. The trees, the tulip trees, the pin oaks, Japanese maples, the weeping birch.
Yes.
It's just incredible growth. Where do you get your energy from? Is it from the garden?
I enjoy creating and building things, and this is, very much a passion job.
We'll hear more about Garrick's passion for the garden a little later in the show. Leon, head gardener at Mayfield. That's a bit of a gift, isn't it? What a great job.
It's a great job, and the best part, Graham, is I actually planted this garden. This is my baby.
The water garden?
The water garden is my baby.
Well, it's open all year round.
It certainly is.
And how many people do you get to the whole garden in a year?
Around 50,000 people.
Wow.
It's really come a long way in a short period of time.
Right.
Like 2008, we planted the backbone of this place.
Yes.
The birches have really taken off. They are really a good show, both in winter and in summer.
That's Jack Montii?
Jack Montii.
Right. One of the things I really love about this garden that you've planted out with these purple maples, the big maples up there, these glorious Crimson Century, I think, are they?
Yes, they are.
There must be hundreds of thousands of trees.
Oh, they well and truly would be.
You've got emerald greens, lime greens, and all the foliage colours. And, of course, whether you've got flowers or not, it looks beautiful.
It does.
It's just a dream here.
Thank you.
If you're looking for an offsider. At this time of the year, the other spectacular sight at Mayfield is the Rhododendrons and Azaleas. It has the largest collection of rhododendron varieties of any garden in the world. Believe it or not, it's quite incredible. The rhododendrons are predominantly the taller growing type trees, and they all prefer to be under the shade of bigger trees, so they're understory planting. And then there are the smaller ones, which we tend to call the azaleas, but they're still members of the rhododendron family. Now, the Japanese ones, we tend to call the karooms, and there's quite a few of them around here. Christmas cheer is still in flower, beautiful little plant. There's Mother's Day, that's the one there behind the copper tree. The bigger ones tend to come from India, and we call them the indicums. They also are found in China as well. The thing about growing rhododendrons, in fact the azaleas, that whole group, is that they love well-drained soil. The minute the soil gets heavy and boggy and wet, you start to lose them. So, on an embankment, perfect. But remember, they are shallow rooting, so to keep them cool during summer, make sure you've got a good cow manure mulch There are more varieties than you can poke a stick at now, and there's bound to be one that will grow in your garden. Look at the display, it's breathtaking, isn't it? Now, this beautiful fellow here is Queen Emma, a glorious, deep, rich orange. In fact, in the mollis azaleas, which these are, you tend to get the more sunset colours, the reds, the oranges and the yellows. All of these will actually take much more full sun than the traditional azaleas or rhododendrons. What a magnificent location.
Thank you, thank you.
And the house looks magnificent.
I was getting there bit by bit, thank you.
You've very generously opened up the family part of the garden to our cameras today.
You'll see some bits that even when the whole garden is open, other people don't get to see.
A maze. Why a maze? Because they're so difficult to look after.
They're difficult to look after, and they're also quite challenging to build.
Is it Buxus?
It is Buxus, which, as you know, is very slow growing,
Right.
but it's also extremely dense.
Right.
So it's all very mathematically designed to make it very difficult to find your way in and even more difficult to find your way out. You can see there's a crow's nest in the middle. Well, that's sort of, if you like, the goal. There's got to be an objective, and so when you get the objective and make the crow's nest, you can climb up, and there's actually a bell there that you can ring.
I think I need to give this a go for myself. I mean, how hard can it be? OK, this looks like fun. When you look around, so much of it to see. This way?
Actually, this way.
Which way? That way?
There it is up there.
Follow these guys. Oh, I think I've taken a wrong turn. Hopeless. It's just there. Okay, let's go this way. Ah, yes! Yes, yes! Woo! For whom the bell tolls. A garden of this size and scale, you need a team, and Garrick is very lucky to have as his wife someone who has studied horticulture and gardening. Evelyn.
Hello.
Wonderful to see you. The rhododendrons are just spectacular up in here. Of course, this.
Yeah, it's a bit of madness, this.
Madness. It is unbelievably stunning. So just explain what's actually happening here.
This Stumpfree is a Victorian concept. At that time, I think nature was being celebrated in a decorative sort of way.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure who came up with the idea of collecting old bits of wood, but they would also use all kinds of random things and build structures. I think there was a lot of sort of quirky things that happened in Victorian gardens.
Yes. And the great thing that we don't get to see, of course, is this side of trees. We don't get to see their butt.
Exactly. And it's very sculptural.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Pleasure.
The perfume from this wisteria is an absolute knockout, but you've got quite a few wisteria around the garden.
We have, particularly in this area, and on the other side, there's a very nice one in the water garden.
Where did this passion come from? Was it for the garden? Was it your parents?
My dad had very much a green thumb.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can blame him.
It's a lovely thing you've created, not only for Oberon and the state, but for the whole country, because people come here from all around the world to come and see this beautiful garden. Now, this has to be the grandest view of the whole shebang. Did this go in originally, the Cascade?
Well, it was completed, in fact, for my son's 21st birthday, 18 years ago.
All right.
So the inspiration, I'm sure you're aware, is Chatsworth.
Yes. We took you to Chatsworth House in England just a few months ago on the show.
We went to some effort here to try and make the proportion of the pond where it finishes relevant to the Cascade itself. And so hopefully we had some success.
These are real, aren't they? Growing in the ground.
They're absolutely real.
Yeah, bookleaf therias, who'd have thought?
Yeah.
And you've got, on either side of the Cascade, you've got sort of Italian pencil pines. I love that noise. Is it great?
It's fantastic.
What are your favourite parts of the garden? I know that's hard because there are so many.
I actually like the area around the grotto,
Yes.
the grotto itself, because I know the amount of work that went into doing
Yes.
that and the amount of thought that went into doing that.
There's nothing quite like this in Australia. Why have you done this?
I thought, well, you know, why can't Australia have a world-class garden? I'm a very
Yeah.
proud Australian.
Yeah.
And so that was the original inspiration. When we first opened to the public, it was for, you know, a couple of charity events, and I found that it gave me enormous pleasure
Right.
to see other people in the garden.
You're giving employment to a whole heap of people and enjoyment to thousands more.
Well, that's not kind of you to say, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Graham, thank you.
It's been a real pleasure.